Justin, my heart goes out to graphic designers and cartoonists, and that world is in pain right now due to changes in AI. And I'd like us to talk a little bit about it.
Right. And so with the release or the update of ChatGPT 4.0, if you've been on social media, especially LinkedIn, you've seen everything from action figures, which I've taken part in, to anime and animation, to just about anything turning real life into Renaissance art. And it really is phenomenal because prior to 4.0, you could do some quirky little things and tools like Mage and Night Cafe and stuff like that, and you'd see what people would do in Mid Journey and turn in Runway, and it really was overnight they released the update, and it just caught the internet afire. And one thing really stood out, and that was Studio Ghibli. It was, I saw jokes on the internet of AGI was reached, artificial Ghibli intelligence, and it was going to be Ghibli Day. And as fun as it is, and anybody who has even barely touched animated movies or animated shows should be familiar with Ghibli Studios. They've made a ton of just really deep and heartfelt movies across the years. Anybody familiar with animation is going to know who Studio Ghibli is. Prior to this, and it wasn't part of this update, but prior to this, I think it was about a year ago, the the main designer and the mastermind behind Studio Ghibli was interviewed by some of his younger animators about what his thoughts were on AI. And the founder, his name's Hayao Miyazaki. He founded Studio Ghibli with a few other individuals in 1985. He was asked about AI, and the way he put it, without the exact quote, is it was kind of an insult to humanity or insult to the creative arts. He was really against it. And, some of that came from how much he believed. He's a legend in animation and how much he believed in the artistic expression, the work put into it. And, for individuals who aren't familiar with some of the works by Studio Ghibli, the amount of time that goes into some of their animation is just intense. You're talking about hundreds of hours. And why that is so monumental is because even in computer graphics, what we've seen in things like the Endgame series and Marvel with the Avengers, there are still pieces that you could almost say are a few years old that Studio Ghibli have created through animation that can still have no comparison in just the depth and the sheer intricacy and how they were created. And when you talk about master craftsmen and really mastering their art, they are one that stand out in cinema. And that's just the animation, not to take into account the different themes and storylines that they put that really explain or really explore, what it is to come from a child to an adult, what some people with existentialism, just these deep themes that people explore throughout their life. And so, for him to already be concerned about artificial intelligence, even, about a year ago, for all of a sudden his life's work essentially to be recreated in 5 minutes via a prompt, I can only imagine the impact that would have on somebody. And it's really equivalent to a master wood carver who can create things that look so real that it's not unless you touch them that you realize they're wood or marble, and a machine being put on a table and being able to do the same thing in an hour.
Yeah,
It
that's a great analogy because stuff like that's happened. And I just want to add, I listened to someone who was an animator and he said in these animations, they're able to do things you can't do in the real world by
Mhm.
expressing feelings through graphics around it. It's not an art I had really studied before, but now I want to watch it, and how it's taking that away. Because just like we talk about film and digital, the digital wasn't as good, but it came out so much
Mhm.
faster that people went to it sooner than I expected. And that's one of the concerns, is the amount of just get it out quick, good enough for people to consume, make a little money on it,
Mhm.
is to me a real threat to their craft, to people appreciating it. And one of the things also in photography was they used to say moms with camera is taking away our business, because it would be,
Mhm.
mother had an automatic system.
Mhm.
And what I saw the photographic field was not able to do is get out front and teach people the difference between someone who just got a camera and put it on automatic and a pro. They didn't have the distinction. And I'm afraid that's
Mhm.
going to happen here, Justin, where that beautiful and distinction, not
Mhm.
enough people appreciate it or understand it to notice it's not there, but a story's enough to watch.
Right. And one of the scenes I recall that I was thinking of earlier, it's from a film called Grave of the Fireflies. And it's a movie that in its own right, it takes place in, World War II Japan. And it focuses on, without giving too much of it away, it is a little bit of an older movie, but it it talks about the war and the bombings, the US, the Japanese part of the war, and it talks about it more so from the Japanese point of view and the loss and the hurt and everything. But there's a scene that I've heard countless, and I'm talking about countless high level directors and producers talk about, where there is a bombing of a hospital and it catches fire, and the little boy is running to the hospital because his mother is in the hospital. And there is a scene where it shows the confusion and the panic and the chaos and all the emotions, coupled with just the smoke and the flames as he runs toward the hospital. And I consider myself someone who has deeply partaken in cinema throughout my lifetime, and I've watched just about everything I can get my hands on. And to this day, even including, again, Marvel, Star Wars, Star Trek, any of these just highly uh graphic, you know, s- computer graphic, um, studio specialized movies, still to this day, that scene stands out to me, apart from almost any other type of animation. And, that's not to take the story and the depth of it from there, but I think about that, and I think about how long it takes someone to, and how many man hours it takes to produce something like that that's beloved. And I would say that you're going to be hard pressed to find any creator or any studio that is loved and cherished as much by its fan base as Studio Ghibli. It's deeply cherished by all those who love it, even those who aren't particularly drawn to animation can watch it and say that was very well done and that left an impact on me. And so with the 4.0 release and Ghiblifying yourself, it was really neat, and it's hard not to get drawn into something like that, the craze of it and how cool it is. But of course, they finally issued a cease and desist order over the AI generated images that were mimicking its animation style. And this, there's people to say this is real, there's people say there's fake, so it just adds to a bunch of different things. I've seen now where 4.0, you can have it recreate receipts that have the paper crinkles and have all this to where it looks like a real receipt. And so you're talking about, tax fraud and stuff now. And so it was interesting of, Studio Ghibli has every right to uh announce a cease and desist. I mean, it's their IP, it's their creation, so why would they? And there's two kind of camps to it. There's one of, for anybody who's never been exposed to it, now they say, what is the Studio Ghibli? So now it kind of drives new fans to it. But then two, the danger of it is anybody who's in graphic design, who's in animation, who is a producer or photographer, in 5 minutes, I can upload an image into something like Google Studio, unless they've taken it down, have a watermark removed, and then take that, upload it into ChatGPT 4.0 and have it recreated to almost an identical style, and then manipulate it from there. So now, truly, to a degree, the days of Photoshop are kind of over, because now you can edit images in real time via prompts and have them match other examples. And so, why wouldn't you want to fight this? Now, this comes back to what we've been seeing over the last year or so that you and I have been talked about, 2025 may be the year of litigation as it comes to AI. And we're starting to see this with IP over text generations like Reuters versus Ross Intelligent in the legal arena, where is taking someone's IP and putting it into a system and it transforming it, really stealing the IP? Or because these are transformers and transformative systems, does it create something new and therein not fall under any legal issue? How is that going to work with images and likeness and things like that? And so, as amazing as it is, and I will agree, I think it is fantastic what we can do now. It should be as equally horrifying, because just apart from your IP or your creation being stolen, now you are able to take something like deep fakes and take it up to the whole next level.
Yeah, I agree, and I want to footnote some of the things we teach. Number one, in our training, ethics. Are you going to move into the world with your own ethics with AI? And what we teach, Justin, is you don't, if you can make something look like a Disney character, you don't do it, because that's
Hmm.
stealing their brand. That's fundamental of what we teach in ethics. This is important that people keep this in mind working with it. And the other aspect is something we've said frequently in our class is AI really is the next industrial revolution, and it was not comfortable for people who went through those times. And I think people are seeing
Hmm.
it. I just mentioned to someone today, it's like the printing press has now not only been made, they're starting to produce several of them. They're out there,
Hmm.
and we're realizing that most of us are just scribes. And
Right.
what would that feel like? It's an aspect of our humanity we need to discuss. It's not going to be possible to control it all, because this is a global competition, but we want to balance between creativity and ingenuity at the same time. Trying to control the whole ocean is not a wise thing either, because then we'll cut off the potential positives of it. This is why it's a dynamic conversation that we need to all be part of and learning and keep up with, and of course, Justin, taking our training.
Hmm. And I know you can call us AI ethicists here, because really this is getting into the core of a lot of different things. In that, one, it's, is it right or wrong? What are the ethics of using it? But then two, you get into the focus on, we're starting to see with 2024, we started to see a lot of downsizing, a lot of cuts. And what we're starting to see is there are some companies who are having that remorse, because they realized that the people they cut had value, they had knowledge, they had expertise, and these tools are not ready and suited enough to start laying people off. Now, the people who remain, who were trained on the tools with the goal of balancing out and finding an equilibrium, are overworked, even with AI, and they're under a lot of stress. The companies who sat through that and said, look, we're not going to lay anyone off. We are going to maybe freeze hiring, and we're going to find out how we can strengthen what we have with these tools, are really sitting at a good position right now because they retained that knowledge, that expertise, and they strengthened it. In 2025, I've noticed is we're taking a lot of the sayings we were saying in 2024 and we're starting to update them already. And so we're looking at, the one that still rings true to a degree is AI is not going to take your job, but someone who is literate with it might or will. And so now with something like 4.0, you have kind of an attitude shift you can make is, am I going to panic because AI is going to take my job or someone who's better at it is going to take my job? Or am I going to double down? I'm going to put the effort into learning these tools and then I'm going to enhance my capabilities with it and become a fierce competitor to anybody that's coming after me or my business. And that's where, you and I teach is we need to be the fierce competition. We really need to be those who are innovating to a point to where if you're the subject matter expert in your town, your region, or your area, you need to invest the time to take what you already know and excel at and augment it with AI. And so now you look at it as we're putting designers out of work. No, as a designer, how are you able to use these tools just like you would in an office setting or administrative setting to get a huge jump start on video or photo editing? So that way you save time when it comes to the intricacies that you're good at, that you've put the years into. And so now we're looking at not so much of how it's disrupting all these markets, but the opportunity you have to now catch up with your administrative counterpart and say, look, I can now compete at the same level that you can in what I can do because these tools are becoming better all the time and each update brings new innovation to new industries.
I was talking to someone very talented in this field that we know, and they said this is the time that you need to make sure you're not lazy in your creations,
Hmm.
that you're going to actually sharpen that saw more. Because I think a lot of these studios in Hollywood are just cranking out crap without a great story,
Hmm.
excuse my language, and not the best animation. So, this
Right.
is, are you going to be the one that keeps throwing the junk out, or are you going to be the one that makes it unique enough and quality enough that it still stands out above the noise? And then sell it as that. This cost a little more and we produced it versus the other. And both are going to be out there. We're going to have an abundance of a bunch of junk stuff out there. And then there's some that are going to say, look, we still have a few years to really compete. Let's
Hmm.
be the best of the best, where it just stands out way beyond others. As far as your personal career, Justin, my advice and ours is be that best of the best.
Hmm.
Learn the tools, be good at it, whatever you can get training on, do, and then start applying and integrate ethics. Show that you
Hmm.
have boundaries, because these lawsuits have not all been tested, but get someone's going to lose, and the person who's just throwing the ethics out the window is probably going to be on that first group to lose. So keep those core ethics that you learn in business and integrate it into it, because to me, you don't have to make something great to steal this type of art. You can
Right.
use another medium and great make something great. But the lazy way would be to steal the art. And
Hmm.
those that will do the harder work and make the effort and learn the skills, to me personally, are going to keep the most competitive, and have a type of, like, they can sleep at night.
Right.
you know
Right.
so where do we want? I'd love to just wrap up with a few things for
Mhm.
people for discussion. One, we want to hear your views on this. What do you think? Because I hear the pain of all those beautiful graphic artists and
Mhm.
designers that both appreciate real art, that have deeper distinctions than I know. And also, how are you going to adapt in this new world and handle it?
Right. And again, it goes back to what we talked about earlier is are you going to double down or are you going to check out? And so, how are you going to approach it? And anybody who's passionate about their work and is passionate about, and they have a mission that they're striving to achieve, they're going to double down. And so, this is no different. And I think we need to stop worrying about the hype. We need to stop worrying about the fear and just cut through all that. Realize it's another tool. Photoshop's a tool, Canva's a tool. This is another tool. Let's learn how to use it. Let's apply it, and let's just keep moving forward.
Absolutely. Excellent. Look forward to hearing people's views. You'll see links to our training and other resources below. And this is Martin Brossman, and
Dr. Justin Rose.
have a fantastic day. Take care.